Hello, 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 everyone. I am back. How is everyone doing? This is our bi weekly date, time to talk. I am Rafael Caldas. This is Guilherme Dias. Guilherme, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well indeed. Regardless the 40 degrees in London, I'm still alive.
Yeah. I was going to say, if people are in Europe, I hope you are enjoying the heat wave if you can. If not, I hope you're at least surviving it. I know I am just surviving it. But here we are. So, this is our time to talk. We are starting episode 25 today. 25. That means it's been 50 weeks of time to talk now. Nearly a year. Um, and today we have a special question. How do I treat my mediumship? Let's talk about that in a second. Before we kick off our chat, the usual, let me say thank you very much to SSL, Bus, and Kardec Radio for being our broadcasters. All three of these organizations are committed to spreading the news, spreading the word, spreading the knowledge about Spiritism in the world. SSL is based here in London. Guilherme and I both are members of SSL. They have a study group on Tuesdays online and face to face on Thursdays. If you want to know more about them, you can go in, like their page, and join them. Then we have BUS. BUS is the British Union of Spiritist Societies. It's like a federation in the UK for the Spiritist centers that we have here. Again, there's a lot of initiatives, content, events, materials available to you. And please go and like their page on Facebook and YouTube. And last but not least, by no means, Kardec Radio, which has been around for over a decade, bringing a lot of content to you regarding Spiritism. Go there, like their page, download their app. They have a great app with all the content available to you, so you can just follow on. So, today, what we're going to talk about. The question we have today is, how do I treat my mediumship? I have to say that this topic was a topic that was suggested by Guilherme. Then I am going to pass it on to him straight away. Before we answer this question, Guilherme, why did you suggest this topic?
That's a good question already. In the reality, Rafael, it is not clear on the beginning, I believe, to the great majority of the mediums, how to treat the mediumship, how to live with that, how to take care of it properly. And I was not different than the great majority. Should I exercise? Should I not exercise? What should I do with that? Should I help people? Should I do anything with that at all or not? And so many questions came around. Am I too young? Am I too old? Am I prepared? And we quite often we start to lie to ourselves, finding excuses not to embrace that gift, if I may call like that, given from God. And we try to hide. Most of the time we try to hide between our day-to-day activities, between what I don't want to do and what I know I should do, between my calendar, between my time off. There are so many questions that I believe most of the mediums have orbiting in their mind, especially on the beginning, that I thought this could be a good suggestion for our topic tonight.
Okay. Interesting, because when I was thinking about it, and there's a lot of ways of looking at this question, and I think the word treat is is what I was thinking on, because you can mean something that it needs treatment is because maybe it's unbalanced, or maybe it's an illness and you're trying to treat something, a condition that you have, or it can be treated in a way of how do you, I guess, position ourselves before something, like how do you treat others, how do you treat yourself. So that there's some nuances in this word that I think are quite interesting to see and to look from different perspective in this question. And when I was thinking about that, I think, of course, the first thing that came to my mind was, and I think we probably repeated ourselves a few times, is that understanding, oh, excuse me, understanding that mediumship is a natural thing. It's not a disease. It's not you're ill with something. It's not something like that. You cannot treat in that sense that we will heal or recover from it, because it isn't an illness. And we just need to reinforce this over and over again. Mediumship is a natural skill, if I can call it that as well, natural gift that is all around us, and it happens to so many of us. But on the other sense, how to treat something like that, how to treat a sense or a skill like that. And the first thing that came to my mind was with respect, right? You treat everything with respect. You treat others with respect, you treat yourself with respect. So that kept coming to my mind as a way of how do I face this question, and how do I see mediumship, and that kept coming back. What I mean by respect, we will develop. We will develop. How do you treat your mediumship, Guilherme?
I think it's fair to say that we have phases, right? I was exposed to mediumship at a very young age. So I was not having any mediumship per se, but I was surrounded by mediums that had decades of experience. So I always felt like I was at home. I felt like normal. That was normal to me. When I started to have some mediumship sensations, I wasn't probably from 30s. I had a hard time to understand it, even though that I am born in a Spiritist family. I had Spiritist experiences at very early ages, starting from when I was 15 years old, working in mediumship meetings and things like that. But when I started to feel some of the sensations, was kind of that, no, it's not happening with me. And I'm doing a lot of things for so many years, and I never had that thing. A bit of intuition, of course, a bit of sensation, like tingling from time to time in a meeting or another. But it has evolved to a level that I could perceive the spirits the intuition became something more frequent and things like that. But so no, it's just me, it's just me thinking that is happening. And that was the initial reaction, really, and imagine if I had that without any exposure to the spiritism that I had for years before that happened. That's why I appreciate when someone that has no information about spiritism or anything else comes to us and asks for help, because great majority of people, they have fear. I could not say that I had fear because that was part of my life, so I did not have fear. But I thought that wouldn't be possible with me, and imagine someone that had no conception whatsoever about spiritism, life after death, and things like that. It would be a shock. So that was the beginning. That was the beginning. And later on, well, more than 10 years later, I allowed myself to pay better attention to all those tinglings, feelings, sensations, and things like that. When I did that, one thing became very patent in my mind. I lost a lot of time. Instead of denying that possibility, sort of, I could have helped many more people on the spirits if I had embraced that thing in a different way. I'm not talking about studying, because I studied spiritism since I was 10, maybe earlier. And we should never stop. I'm doing it until today. But I felt like I missed a long time that I could have used the spiritism to help many more spirits, incarnated and discarnated. So nowadays I'm sort of trying to compensate that, but I don't forget that my hesitation played a massive role for several years. And when I mean hesitation, I was working. I was in a mediumship meeting. I was doing a few other things, lectures, you name it. But I was kind of, no, I'm not really a medium, I never felt anything before. So, yeah, that was pretty much it at the beginning.
What you say resonates to me a little bit. I remember we had conversations in the past, and I told you, look, I don't think I'm a medium. I don't, in an ostensive way, and I think the more you study, the more you learn, and the more you get involved with work, you start to realizing some things that they were always there, but maybe you were not paying attention. So I think that's something I can definitely resonate with. But if I go back to the question, again, I think, as I said before, I think that you cannot treat mediumship in the sense that you can get rid of it or cure it, because it's not a disease. But we do hear and see cases where people might have an unbalanced mediumship. And in that sense, there is, of course, there must be a way of bringing it to balance. Because if it got to a point where it's affecting how people are living their lives, or it's in the way of people doing other things or their usual lives, then it probably means there's something that's a bit out of control that needs to be looked at. And my next question is, people who find themselves in that situation where they might be starting to experience things or feel things or even seeing things, and it gets to a point where it's affecting their lives. What do they do? What should they do?
I think we have to consider two situations. One, where the person is completely isolated or living in an area or a country where spiritualism is non-existent. And we have the second situation where the person is in a place where can find support through spiritism, through spiritualism, through a few other philosophies that understand the spirit as such. The first situation is a bit more complicated because the only thing the person really have is to go to a doctor, because that's all that comes to mind. The doctor may well prescribe drugs to contain what he rightly see as a disease. Why I'm saying rightly see as a disease? Because he studied years to understand the chemical reactions, to understand how the physical body works. He never had the exposure to the spiritual body and how that works. So within his knowledge, what he's doing is right. And a lot of people, even in places where they could find support from the spiritism, for example, they prefer to go to a doctor and try to use drugs to buffer the phenomena, to buffer the voices, to buffer what they are feeling. But why am I using that word buffer? Because that's what happens. You cannot treat mediumship. There isn't a pill that you can take that will make that go away. What may happen, and happen quite a lot, to be honest, is that through the drugs, the person become like numb, become like really under the effects of the drugs. And of course, during the time when the drugs is acting, the person will not listen to voices or things like that. He will not listen to any voice at all because he's numb. So there's a balance to be found, and nowadays science, doctors, and people that are dealing with the spirits do not come yet together to come to a balance. But it will in the future. In the second case, where you could have a more holistic approach, I would suggest to look to support from a center, from a spiritist center, where your situation could be evaluated, investigated, and then if it is a center familiar with that kind of work, you will be given suggestions to how to deal with your mediumship, how to deal with the phenomena. And then in both cases, it's up to you what to do, really. But at least if it is something related to the spirit, you will find support in a place that knows how to handle the spirit. Remember that we do have mediumship on every corner of the planet, on every creed, on every belief. So there's not only one way to work about it. I'm not here advocating that only the spiritism can help you, not at all. But I'm advocating that we do have methods, we do have the knowledge that could help you perhaps in a shorter time or better.
And when the Let me just check if we have any questions, actually, because I think something popped up. I want to say hello to everyone. If you are there, just tell us hi, where you are from. And let me just see here. Yeah, we have Thiago is putting a comment here saying that happened to him, that he stopped hearing voices after taking medicine. And I think to Guilherme's point, you need to be, of course, very careful with those situations. And one treatment doesn't replace other, but as long as you get to the real root cause of what you are experiencing.
Let me jump on this one.
Yes.
Tiago, there isn't one serious spiritist center that will tell you to stop taking your medicines, or at least they should not. We will never do it here. But a serious spiritist center will start an evaluation. Will start to see how things work, how it doesn't work. They will have the opportunity to ask the benefactors, is this person a medium? Is there someone that needs to develop the mediumship or not? So they will start working parallel with what the doctors do. I had so many cases with people that has arrived in the center taking antidepressive drugs, whatever. And after a period of time, they doctors identified they were way better, and they start to reduce the amount of drugs to the point that they stopped, but always following the doctor's instruction. If, for example, another person then haven't got that thought to go to a doctor, coming to us in the Spirit Center, we would do exactly the same. We would do an evaluation. We perhaps would speak to the benefactors, and perhaps only with what we can do, we could be sufficient to help the person. But in some cases, we also recommend the person to seek some medical support as well, because we can only consider something as from the spirit world, if we eliminate every other possible causes. So sometimes, even when we know that the person is a medium, we also recommend he or she to go to a doctor, because sometimes things need to work together. So I wouldn't stop just because I wanted, but if I wanted, I would investigate possibilities with a serious spiritist center, with a proper support. And I'm sure if that is the path that has to be followed by the person, you or anyone, and then things will come naturally. But once again, we from the Spiritist Center, we should never tell anyone to stop listen to the doctors or stop taking your medicines. That's not the way we do.
Guilherme, from a spiritist perspective, what is prescribed then? If I am either in contact with my mediumship.
Now we come into my question, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Well,
go ahead.
Well. That is to everyone.
I have, by the way, before you go in, when I was researching this specific, what you're going to start talking about now, I went to read a few books, and there is a book that it starts, like there's a specific chapter that starts, the first sentence of the chapter, it has everything in it. I'm going to bring this in a second, but I'm going to let Guilherme talk first. Go, Guilherme.
That is to everyone now, mediums or not. But as we are talking about mediumship, I will direct especially to the mediums, or to the people that are having the phenomena, having the sensations, the tinglings, the listening to the voices, there's one thing we all can do to improve our situation. We need to work. And when I talk about work, I'm talking about perform charity. And charity is not a material charity, it's a moral charity. What is that? Give your time to help others. Go to a nursery, go to an asylum, go to a place where an orphanage, for example. Go to a place where people need attention. Put yourself available to perform good in the name of Jesus, in the name of God, in the name of whoever you want to believe. Because on the end of the day, it's the same. So if we start to do that, we start kind of create a shield for many situations. That would be the first advice. Let's perform something good to other people. And when we do that, we create a massive chemical reaction because we are happy, we produce energy around us that benefit ourselves and the others. There are chemical reactions in our body. I forgot the name of the chemical things, but we also produce a different
endorphins, maybe.
Yes, endorphin. But there's a word for that kind of thing, but I forgot in English anyway. But that's positive for our physical body, and it's positive to our spirit. So that is the first thing I would recommend in any stage of your mediumship. If you are finding yourself now finding that you are medium, if you're having voices, if you're listening for knockings, for raps, what we used to say, that's for everyone. Second thing would be, it's time to understand what's going on. How can you understand what's going on if we do not dedicate the minimum amount of time in pursue the subject? I have to find a way to get contact with people, or studies online nowadays, there are plenty,
easy,
that will give us at least the idea of what is going on. Because if I'm going to the doctor, he'll think I'm crazy. If I'm not going anywhere, I will think I'm crazy. So it's better to confirm if we are or not. Or the best way to do it is to get acquainted with the massive amount of knowledge we can, for example, on the Spiritism, that will tell us, hey, he is describing here something that I'm feeling every day. He is describing here, the book is describing here situations that I had a month ago. So then we start to have that kind of interaction with people that are familiar with the phenomena. And then we start to find ourselves slowly. So perform good, charity, study. They are the first two things. If we are lucky enough to find a place where we will be welcomed and will be given the opportunity to start, then is the real word that is work. If you see Kardec's work, books, that word appears more than 3,000 times. André Luiz, lots of times. Chico Xavier, a lot of times. There isn't a balanced mediumship without proper work. And when I talk about proper work, I'm talking about, one, commitment. And when I'm talking about commitment, I'm talking about true commitment. It's not just, I'm going to do this when I have nothing else to do. I'm saying that because on the mediumship meetings, we see quite often spiritists, discarnated spiritists, coming to our meetings telling us how ashamed they are and how they did suffer because they haven't done enough. I'm not trying to tell you guys that you need to live 24/7, but I'm telling you guys that we can do a bit more. We always can do a bit more. So don't be complacent thinking like I'm giving 1 hour per week or per month to perform this activity, thinking that is enough, because it will not be enough. I'm
But
sorry.
but it starts. Start somewhere.
Exactly. Start from somewhere, get acquainted to the activity, and as something that you say, when the work is ready, the work will come. And that will come. As soon as you're getting prepared for something, you have other opportunities. And the key is not to miss an opportunity.
Yeah. So I want to mention something. As Guilherme said, the more you read, the more you see. And to be honest, every time I made this comment earlier in our study group, that every time you go in to study a bit more about spiritism and a bit more about that moral element that should be your guiding force throughout your life, trying to improve yourself morally and so on, and that is super applicable for mediumship, because it is by working on and creating your moral uh, defenses, let's say it, your moral stands, that you will allow yourself to connect more easily with higher spirits, protect yourself from um, inferior spirits, let's call it them. Let's call them that this way. But and how do you strengthen your moral stance is through work, and everything you read in spiritism will always take you to work. And when I was specifically researching a bit for this, I started to read a different book. I've read the book before, but I started to read again a book that is a must for all of anyone interested in learning about mediumship, or especially if you are going through mediumistic experiences yourself. And on top of the gospel, the spirit's book, the medium's book, I would say this is a very good one. And it was translated as Into the Unseen, or In the Invisible, but the translation is Into the Unseen. It's by Leon Denis. And Leon Denis talks a lot about mediumship in this book. That's the main book that he wrote related to that. And there is a chapter, which is chapter 5, which is called The Role and Education of Mediums. And he starts the chapter with the following sentence. I'm gonna bring it here. Nothing truthfully important is acquired without work. He is not saying anything about mediumship. He's not saying anything about spiritism. He's not saying what. He's stating something applicable to anything. Then I quite like when Guilherme was starting to mention that. He said, look, this is not just for mediumship, it's for everything. But of course, we're going to deep dive into mediumship. But this is how he starts the chapter. I don't even need to go further. I said, look, if you read this sentence and it's like a slap in your face, can I wake up? There's no shortcuts. Nothing truthfully important is acquired without work. And then he goes on to say that a slow and laborious initiation is imposed to the ones that seek superior goods or superior assets. Again, he's not even talking about mediumship exclusively yet. He's talking about your commitment to creating your moral stance, your elevation from a moral perspective. Slow and laborious initiation is imposed to the ones that seek superior goods.
Rafael,
there's no runaway. There's no running away from it. Yes, go Guilherme.
I think a lot of mediums, they come to the Spiritist centers to develop the possibilities because they want to have a protector, a benefactor, and a spirit to protect them against the world. And it's natural to think like that. But I really want a protector to protect me in any situation. I can continue doing stupid decisions and he will protect
A
me.
superhero.
Exactly.
A personal superhero.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. We vibrate with those that are equal to us. We all have a guardian angel, but even our guardian angel cannot do anything if we do not allow him to help us. The benefactor is the same. They will try to get closer to you, but if you only make his life difficult, if you don't want to engage yourself, to be committed, to work properly as we should, he'll come and say, well, you know what? I'm sorry, Rafael. I'll come back in 10 years' time because right now you're not ready, And that's what people need to understand.
Yeah.
I can be surrounded by good spirits. But to be surrounded by good spirits, I need to be committed, com- committed with good actions, committed with good things within not only the Spiritist Center, but within my neighborhood, my environment as a whole. And then, if I do really change myself to a point that I am able to control, not all, because it is impossible to control all our impulses, but at least the majority of them. And then we allow those spirits to be a bit closer to us. And then it's like a win win situation. I'll do more, I'll help more people, they will help me more, I'll help more people. Then become a cycle that we get so used to it that we don't think about that anymore. It's so natural. But if I don't want to be committed, if I don't want to do what we should do, that is study, work, improve ourselves, then it's like a broken chain. Somewhere that will snap and it will be very hard to put it together.
You mentioned something that is quite interesting. That in the beginning, when you talk about the mediums who go to the center to try to find a protector, and in the end, as you said, the protection doesn't come from a third party, right? The protection comes from your own actions, decisions, etc. Because that's what will generate the energy that facilitates or not your connections with the spirits to the level that you are. And it's it can be scary, but I think if you start to think about it, it only makes sense, right? What I'm about to say, that if this is mediumship something new and that you only starting to feel things or see things or hear things, and you have nothing of that in terms of your knowledge or practice or so on. If you think about it's mediumship as a journey in terms of how you develop your mediumship as a journey, it might start, let's say, out of nowhere, but it might start at a specific point. And if you don't have that self-protection they already create, the communications, the ideas, the noise, the inconvenience, it will come from inferior spirits that are around you, because we are surrounded by inferior spirits all the time. And they are connected to us through our similarities. And they all want to, of course, communicate and send messages and be seen, be visible, and generate noise or whatever. So it usually starts from that position. And this is also needed if I can say like that, for a specific medium, to start paying attention to that specific skill, see what's going on, understand the situations, as you if as and if you, as Guilherme said, starts to understand a bit more, put that into a work that is organized, commit to it, study, start using the mediumship to benefit others through a specific work that is charitable towards others, that helps other people, then slowly you start to, well, first of all, your own skill, you start to understand a bit more how your skill, uh, I wanted another word then other than skill. Your skill word, your skill becomes more malleable because you get more used to it, you understand how it works. But based on your priorities, your commitment, your studies, how you want to use it, when you want to use it, to what purpose, then you start to prepare yourself so that the good spirits can get closer to you, can be involved in the work that you're doing, can be a sponsor for you or you're trying to do and get closer to you, and then of course protect you. But it's a protection that came from you. It was earned, if I can call it, if I can use that word. But it's a process, a development. So again, it's not to be scared. Oh my God, I have like all the inferior spirits near me. Well, we all do, but the way to, it's a process, it's a journey, and the way to develop it, it's by moving away from whatever use or misuse you're giving to your mediumship, or lack of use, into something that will benefit others.
There is something, Rafael, that came to my mind here, is that quite often when we start to feel like the tingling, the voices, the phenomena, it's like a call. You getting like a call, say, hey, wake up. There's something to do, huh? You had a good life so far, so now it's time to have a good life helping others. So here we go. This is your call. Don't miss your call. It's like a wake up call, really, And the great majority of people, they only come to senses and to practice mediumship, to learn mediumship after the wake up call. So the key thing is like, be prepared to, when you receive a wake up call, not to be scared, but to think like, I'm having a great opportunity from now on. And the only thing I need to do basically is to study and to compromise things. Because I think that's the key word for me. I had to learn how to compromise between things I like, between my time, between my family. And you know what? Life is that compromise. You always have to compromise, like a marriage. Which is the best marriage? Is the one that people learn how to compromise more. The couple will compromise more frequently and they will have a better life. So as life, if we learn how to compromise in our work environment, in our Spiritist center, in our day-to-day thing, things will become easier and we will be able to do everything we should do.
So I remember something else as you were speaking. If you think about the development of mediumship again, right? And at first, depending on what kind of messages or communication you are receiving, remember to take in consideration that it is likely that is an inferior spirit that is just using that opportunity to, get some attention, let's say. And a very important element, you should be paying attention to something, is do not allow yourself to be fooled by an inferior spirit in the beginning of your journey, right? Because they might be giving you big revelations of things that are going to change the world, or they might bring specific news or messages under the names of famous people from the past and so on. And we are, and why am I saying, I'm saying we, because I know I have a ego that is this size. I love attention. So I know it would be tricky for me to put myself in very careful mode to analyze whatever message, idea, or whatever it is that is coming through. Does it make sense, right? What is the use? Why? How can they help people? If you think about everything from a superior element is has the objective of help humanity, teach things to humanity, like enlighten humanity and move humanity forward, why would I be receiving that message or that revelation, whatever? So let's be careful not to allow ourselves to be fooled and tricked by that. And because if spirits that are around us find a way to play with our ego, play with our pride, and manipulate us, we might end up feeding into that and giving them opportunities to be very attached to us, influence other elements of our life that we don't want. So here again, it comes the consequence of not building yourself your protective layer from your moral stand that comes with work and education to charitable work.
Rafael, let me show something here, right? For compromise, you need stability, all kind to do it. Marco, I have a different perception about stability. Well, I'm not that young, and I'm trying to find stability for quite some time. And I was trying to find stability in my work. I'm trying to find stability with my day-to-day activities. I'm trying to find stability within my family. I'm married for more than 20 years. But even though every day there's something different to break that stability, human beings are not created, born to be in a comfort zone. If we are expecting to be in a comfort zone before we compromise and before we engage ourselves with the proper commitment to something, that will never happen. Because you cannot predict the future. You may have a wonderful bank account, and tomorrow you may have a problem that you lose 50% of it. You may have a wonderful family, and then suddenly you have a car crash and half of it is gone. You may have so many different situations in life that we have to adapt. And as a human beings, the good news is we are created to adapt. We adapt ourselves to anything we want. And then everything is stable as far as we improve our flexibility to adapt to new situations. If I really want to do something, I will find a way to do it. It's something that I like to say. I don't have time to this. Well, time is preference. If you really want to do something, you will figure out time. And professionally speaking, time has a massive player in my life. And if I want to do something, I will figure out how to make it happen. You jingle a little bit from one side to another, but if that's something you want to do, you will figure out how to do. And then perhaps you will have stability for a period, but not a constant stability, because that's not what we are here on earth to do. We are here to learn through our problems, through our challenges. And every time we face a challenge, we have to adapt, we have to compromise, we have to get used to it.
Very good. Marco said, yep, he agrees. And Danielle is high-fiving you or doing this, one of the two. But as you were talking about this, especially when you talk about the family stuff, and sometimes you might find that maybe your partner or your other half.
I'm feeling very old. Marco, call me Mr. Diaz.
He's just being respectful.
Yeah, I know.
He better not call me Mr. Caldas. But I was thinking about like when you said about compromise and then family and so on, and sometimes you might be going through something and finding out that you are a medium and you have a mediumship, and then your partner, your other half, your family, they don't believe or they don't support, and then you might try to okay, but I want to get involved. I know that I should be working on this and get involved in this, and I want to learn more about this. And you might find resistance in people that are very close to you, and those cases happen a lot. And
this is natural. This is very natural.
Yeah. And it becomes, it's even more than just a matter of time sometimes, because it's also, it might get you into a tricky situation to manage within the other elements of your life.
Yeah,
I'm going to say something there.
that's where the word compromise has a massive role to play. Because let's think about a couple. I believe this, you believe that, but we love each other. So we have to find a middle ground where I can do what I like, you can do what you like. And on the end of the day, when we come back home, we are united and together. Seems to be simple, and I know it's not, depending the way people see things. But it's possible. We had so many examples that did work and still working very well, so it's possible. So once again, the word compromise. We have to compromise. It's like, I don't like chocolate ice cream. You do like vanilla ice cream. Fair enough. We buy Napolitano one. I get half, you get half. So both sides happy.
Very good. Let me see if there's any other questions here. No other questions. I can share a bit of my personal experience then, because the reason why this example came to me is because my partner doesn't believe in anything. My partner is very atheist, and I am clearly not. And as Guilherme said, I think we found a way of saying, look, these are very fundamental things that we disagree on, and it's fine. We can still coexist and move on our lives. I mean, there's this period of my time, of my life, that I would dedicate to this, and you dedicate to something else, and then in the end, it's fine. But it gets trickier sometimes.
It does. It does. But on the end of the day, even if they don't believe in what we believe, the most important is that if we become better people, if within what my beliefs are, I'm turning myself into a better person, instead of sharing your thoughts and not being fulfilling myself, it's better that you keep your own thoughts and changing yourself, improving your own situation. And then in the future, who knows? Yeah, people may get familiar with different sensations, different opportunities, and they even change their mind. Because I know so many people that initially did not believe at all. They hated to a certain extent. And later on in life, because they start to have opportunities to feel the phenomena, to be acquainted with situations, that they change their mind. They don't fully commit themselves to anything, but they became more flexible with things. So give it time. I think time is a massive help on everything.
I think we got to the end of our session today.
Oh dear, yeah, you went fast.
I want to say we got some messages and comments today, so I want to say thank you very much for everyone who joined. I think Tiago, Gabriel Inácio was very kind to say there was some good advice coming from us. I blame the inspiration from above. Marco, of course, Daniel, thank you very much for your message. I see Els is here as well. Oh, Marco just included in the last message. Let me take a look. I liked when Mr. Caldas said that spirits around us to help, but we need to be prepared, worked at some spiritual tasks because their own spirituality help us, don't you? Yep. Even though you called him Mr. Caldas, I don't think I am old enough to be called Mr. Caldas, but yeah, this is absolutely right. And I think that if the more you read, the more you see. There's a lot of books that will tell you stories of experience of these specific spirits, and in the end, the help is always available. The higher spirits are always prepared and ready. But we need to put ourselves in a situation to receive this help. We need to put ourselves in a situation to move away from the other spirits that are connected to us. But Yeah, we need to work on it ourselves. Yes, Guilherme, you're smiling.
No, I feel like I love the subject. I see so many potential. And I think that kind of conversation that we have here is sometimes way better than to have like a lecture per se and trying to impose things. And that's not the idea. The idea is to open up for a conversation, and through
Yeah.
our simple talks, perhaps we help someone.
Definitely. Um, I agree with you, Guilherme. I like this format a lot. But with that, we get to the end. Let me quickly share our usual announcements. Where is it? There you go. So every other Tuesday, we have the study of the book Nosso Lar, or Astral City, with Guilherme. So one week you have time to talk, the other week you have Nosso Lar. So you're happy to tune in and join. You have the details for the Zoom call for the Nosso Lar studies right there. On Saturdays, we are still going on with the Medium's book study group, and there's a big group from all over the world. So if you want to study, bring your questions, read the book, and come with your questions, we'll be happy to have you. It's at 10:30 UK time. Tomorrow, as usual, we have a coffee break with Kardec, hosted by Munir, which was our very special guest last week. And finally, every Wednesday we have Spiritual Light with a different topic every week. Tomorrow we'll have Humberto Schubert Coelho in Spiritual Light talking about. You have to join to know. It was quite nice. I went to a talk from him yesterday, specifically talking about how science is evolving and incorporating one of the spiritual elements into research, which was very interesting. I think the evidence of the spiritual life and so on is not becoming. It is a bit too strong to be ignored. So very interesting tomorrow. It will be good to tune in. And Elsa just put it here. The topic will be the science of life after death. So tune into that live tomorrow. Right. That's all we had for today. Guilherme?
I had a great pleasure to be here. I love when our friends interact with us, make our lives way better. And I'm looking forward to see you guys again in 2 weeks' time.
Likewise, very much. Thank you to everyone. And hope to see you all in 2 weeks. I'm going to put here the list of books that we use as references, and I'm going to leave a link in a QR code. If you have any other questions that you want to submit to us, feel free to either drop them in the comments box or send us in the QR code. It can be done anonymously if you prefer as well. With that, I'm going to say goodbye and have a good evening, everyone.
See you guys.